Hello everyone, I am Sakai Samurai. In today's video we're going to be taking a look at Kirara and how she was able to be granted her vision. And with that, I'm going to be saying that today's video is going to be a little bit different than its standard format that I normally do here on the channel, as we're actually going to be doing a lore reading guide instead. We're going to be reading from the stories that we've been given so far in the world of Genshin, putting things together to be able to give a better cohesive story. Now guys, to start things off, I want to say to help confusion, Kirara is a yokai, and being even more specific, she's also known as a nekomata, which means that she was once a cat who has now been able to take on the form of a human. And that means that she is a abnormal entity in the world itself, meaning that she was not always who she is today. She actually used to just be a kitten who eventually evolved along with watching humanity and began to develop her own human characteristics. And she also was adopted and loved by an old woman who had taken her into her old home. Now those details are important for this story, as it's going to help things seem just a little bit more cohesive. Anyways, let's sit back and let's read on how Kirara herself was gained her vision. One night in the depths of the midwinter, the little kitten herself was lying down by the coals of the fire, desperately trying to take a nap. But try as she might, she simply could not sleep. The charcoal had long since burnt out, and even the small smoldering embers had gasped their final breath of air as the chilly wind had rattled in through the cracks in the window frames and have seeped down under the doors. The room was getting cooler. With response, Kirara involuntarily curled herself up as tight as she could into a ball, hugging her tail close to her body, trying her best to keep warm on this cool night. But there was something bothering her. Lately, her tail was always itchy and restless, constantly keeping her up at night and bothering her non-stop. No matter how much as she tried licking it or trying to calm it down, it was never enough to truly calm it. Kirara then thought to herself, strange. Granny left this morning. She's been gone way too long. These words were just quietly mewed to herself in her own little cat language, and with that, the final lingering ember became darkened ash. The simple residual warmth it had provided to her has been completely snuffed out. Finally, Kirara stretched out and looked out uneasily at the snowflakes falling outside the window. And then something came over to her. She went ahead, did it on a whim, and quickly leaped right out the window. She shuddered as she landed on her feet, as the snowflakes below her were chilly and her paw pads soon ached from the icy cold floor. She then began climbing onto the roof of her home. While she climbed, her mind was completely full of amazing miraculous stories of yokai and humans, all racing through her mind all at once. Suddenly, she was hit with an interesting vision. Her eyes lit up and she exclaimed, "I remember there was a really tall tree nearby." And with that, things started to morph, at least possibly in reality or maybe just in her own subconscious. But it was there that Kirara found her tail twitching and seeming even more anxious than even she was. She found herself climbing not the building, but a long and tall tree. Her tail was driving her nuts, so much so that her tail seemed to have a complete mind of its own, reaching and grabbing out, almost causing her to nearly lose her grasp on the tree and fall. The tree kept expanding and stretching ever upward. It became so tall and it seemed without even an end in sight. But Kirara didn't even think about how high she was even climbing. Instead, it had seemed as if she wasn't climbing a tree, but she was pursuing the days that have gone by. And that if she was but a step too slow in her path, all might slip away from her forever. She thought to herself, just a bit faster. Finally, she reached the crown of the tree itself, and all the world lay spread beneath her. In the distance, a dazzling and beautiful light suddenly lit the entire black sky before her eyes like a firefly. The light she had seen came from the glowing city resonating at night. In that moment, it was as if something dormant in Kirara's heart had been ignited, and all the fantastical stories of the past had finally become a reality to her. with 1,000 rays of shimmering light bursting and streaming into a galaxy of blooming and beautiful fireworks. The stories that had once seemed so far away from her were now so close that she could almost reach out and touch them with her own paws. She now yearned more than ever before to just bask in that glorious glow resonating from society itself. Her eyes then twinkled and she ushered the words, "Ah, I see her." Somehow, an unseen power had helped Kirara pick out the one person in her life that she desired to see amongst the dazzling stream of lights. Someone so important to her, it was the very first thing that gleamed inside of her mind. Kirara eventually found herself making her way back towards the ground. Once her paws landed safely back on solid land, the clouds above her had parted, and the moonlight casted down before her a mighty shadow upon the snow. A shadow much different than before. A shadow that now boasted 2 tails instead of 1. Gleaming onto another scene, we can see an old woman speaking to her landlord. The landlord simply said, "Are you sure you don't want to stay the night? The snow has only just stopped and getting back won't be so easy." The landlord ushered these words to this elder woman. She simply responded, No, I couldn't. I have a little cat at home and she's waiting for my return." The old lady simply laughed as she stood before the entryway, stern on ensuring that she got home for the night. And much to their surprise, they heard the words, "If that's the case, I'll take you back." These words ushered from the words of a young female voice ringing from outside. Confused, the landlord and the older woman took a peek outside, and there they saw before them a youthful, excited young lady with 2 restless tails twitching around in the wind, and a shining vision dangling upon her waist. Alright guys, and that is how Kirara was able to obtain her vision. This is a really awesome story that caught my interest fast while reading through her lore the other day, and I wanted to be able to share this with you guys in a much more different fashion than I've normally done in the past. Guys, I am Sakai Samurai. I hope you have enjoyed today's video, and if you did, consider liking and subscribing if you want to see more of this. I do all kinds of Genshin Impact lore videos over on my channel, as well as doing the funny video now and then with some funny Genshin memes, maybe some fun edits, and I also might do some guides here and there. Either ways, everybody, feel free to check me out, and let me know down below how you enjoyed the story. I'm excited to hear you guys' opinions on this, and as always, I'm Sakai Samurai. I shall see you all in the next video.